So this week I scrapped an entire scene, a scene that had been part of my novel since the beginning, since I started writing it in 2010, and just got rid of it and rewrote the whole thing. Why I did that and how and what changes did it make? I'll tell you, and hopefully it'll spark some creativity and some ideas for improvement in your novel too. Hey, it's Sam with another Friday video for you. You guys know I've been revising my novel. I was in the querying trenches last year. I at some point I realized I still needed to make some changes to my pitch and my introduction, so I'm doing that now. I haven't done any new queries for this novel in the past 5 or 6 months, I guess since the new year, and I want to again, and I think I'm getting close to being able to. Maybe in a month or two, hopefully this summer I can start again. But I want to revise at least the first few chapters because that's what the the publishers and agents see when you submit it to them, and I'm doing that. I posted something a few weeks ago. I don't remember exactly when it was. One of my videos in the past few months was about a friend of mine, an author friend, Kathy McCrum. I've had her on her before and reviewed her recent book and everything. She said she said something like evaluate your darlings. We hear people talk about kill your darlings, which means don't hold them too tightly if they're not working for the story. But she said maybe kill is a strong word, but evaluate your darlings and reassess whether they're working for you or not. So I did the what was previously, again, since the very beginning, what was previously like the first two scenes of the book. I scrapped those completely and rewrote them into a new scene, into one new scene. I just realized kind of this isn't working, and I was using it to introduce this character, but I was trying to, but it brought up a plot thread that wasn't working and everything. I found at least one more scene. There might be a few more, but I found at least one more scene from the very beginning. Again, that had been in there since my first draft over 10 years ago, and I realized that this isn't working well. That's just not it's not what I'm going for anymore. Maybe it never was what I'm going for, but if it was, it's not now, and I rewrote it. So let me tell you what I did, and maybe you can learn from it too. Okay, so one of my main characters, I have an ensemble cast of superheroes. One of them is named Drake, aka Frostburn. He has the power of both fire and ice. Like one side is fire and one side is ice, so he can do both basically. Um, Kind of my idea. I mean, this is getting maybe the symbolism is a little cheesy, but I'm trying. I'm in part I'm trying to um, I'm try to be more subtle about the symbolism here. Um, his personality too is also hot and cold. Like he goes back and forth. At one point in the draft, I thought he'd be actually like bipolar. I haven't given him any such official label because I don't want to give him a label without studying that pretty closely and making sure it's accurate to that. But I guess my idea was he'd have like I'll tell you like he really has anger issues. He tries to be a bad boy, he acts like he's tough, devil may care kind of guy. Um, but he does eventually somewhere or other have a soft spot, and I mean, spoilers, he's kind of the anti-hero at first. One of the anti-heroes who, when we first meet him, is definitely a jerk, but over time gets better and learns to be more heroic. So in the first two chapters, he definitely did do some terrible things. He was at a bar hitting on these different girls. He even tried to hit on the bartender, and when she rejected him, he like made a mess, spilled yeah, spills his glass on the floor, knocks the glass on the floor, and just walked out, like a jerk. Then this guy tried to mug him, and Drake and Drake was like, "Hey, you picked the wrong person to mug," and he takes out his anger on that guy and leaves him there to burn, basically. Um, so I still have that part. And after that, in chapter three, there's a section where each of my characters is kind of on their own, and hopefully the chapter's called Secret Identity, so hopefully you get to know them a little bit more, a little bit better. And I had Drake. This is the scene I scrapped. I had Drake just sitting alone in his apartment, and like two sides of his mind going back and forth and arguing with each other. like, hey, you really shouldn't drink so much. It's like, what do you care? It's fine. It's like, hey, you shouldn't have done that back there. And it's like, you know what? I'm Frostburn. I can do what I want. And certainly there have been characters who have like multiple personalities, and that's part of their shtick. I could see maybe like the Hulk or someone doing that. I mean, in sci-fi, especially, I mean, or psychological things, maybe that's certainly possible. I'm not against it, if it's done well and rightly. But I realized this is really the only scene in the book where I do that kind of internal dialogue with Drake. I mean, I where I have him like arguing with himself like that. I'm like, if that's gonna be part of his personality and like an actual, I don't know, disorder he has or something, that I need to flesh it out more. And I'm like, if it's not, then it's not really working. I don't know. If it feels cheesy to me now, again, I'm not saying the idea is inherently cheesy if it's done well, but but now looking back to me on something I wrote over 10 years ago, originally, I feel like it was forced and it just wasn't working well. So like he's just arguing with himself, and I mean that's maybe a little heavy-handed, at me as the author trying to say who's the good and the bad side of Drake and stuff like that. Um, so what I changed, I just realized, that's that's not what I want anymore. I scrapped that whole scene. I rewrote it. I still realized I was like, okay, my purpose in this scene is to show Drake's humanity, and even though he is a jerk, and even though he's done some bad things, I want to show that he's one struggling with it, and he at least has some sympathetic side, and maybe some conscious, some element of a conscience somewhere in him. So I ended up just putting him in a dialogue with another character. It was a one-off character. He probably won't appear anywhere else in the book as of right now. Um, like what was I gonna say? Yeah, I did this for another of my main characters too. Night Terror, who's like a brutal vigilante. I have someone called it kind of a found family arc where the heroes are originally independent of each other and they gradually come together. So yeah, some of my main characters were loners at first, and so I'm like, when they're in their apartment by themselves, or I'm trying to flesh out their character, they have no one, and I'm just trying to explore their thoughts. Most people, even if they're like a loner, they actually do have someone they talk to some of the time, at least like a neighbor or something, even if they're not that close, or a boss or coworker. So I was like, okay, Drake's got to have someone. So I gave him like, I think it was funny. I was amused by it. This other like drunken guy who likes who like crashes at Drake's place and freeloads off of him, and probably originally only want to be friends with Greg because he has powers and he thinks that's cool, and they would go drinking together. But Drake gets home to his apartment, and this guy who I named Hunter is there on his couch, like passed out, and Drake's like, "Come on, dude," and they ended up and they end up like talking and I mean Drake isn't open. Drake isn't one who like openly shares his feelings, but the other guy Hunter is drunk, and he ends up being like, come on, man, like unrestricted. He's like, tell me what's going on, talk to me. I'm your friend, and stuff like that. And so, you know, I had to rework some things. I was like, if you know, if Hunter is like a drunken frat boy or whatever, then I'm like, I'm not going to. Then he's not really the voice of moral reason against Drake's angry impulses. I mean, like that doesn't work. So I kind of had to position it so by this point Drake was mostly sober, and he was the one reflecting on what he's done, and like I kind of made them foils, and like in this particular scene at least, Hunter is the guy who's kind of reckless, just wants to party, and Drake is. And by that point, Drake is like, "Yeah, I've had enough for tonight, and I'm not in the mood and stuff like that." So the readers actually can see that he has a different side to him, and things like that. So I wrote their dialogue. It did end up being more words in the original scene. So I mean, I've been trying to cut words, but not all changes end up being cutting words. Some of them add words. So I mean, I can edit it again. We'll see if I can cut a few, but we'll see. But I really think even if it's a few hundred more words, I think the scene is a big improvement on what I had before. I'm looking forward to sharing it with my writers group in a few weeks, whenever that might be. So I guess here's my takeaways. Evaluate your darlings. You know, if a scene you have isn't working, cut it out. And I mean, I'm not saying just delete it and with no other editing or follow through, you may have to think about, ask yourself, what was the original purpose of this scene, or what do I want it to be doing, and then think of a different way to do that. That's been helping me with these scenes. Two, um, give someone a partner, like just a dialogue partner, or another character. If I know it can be dicey to explore a character's thoughts. I mean, there's different ways authors have handled that. Some more didactic, more in your face, on the nose didactic than others, which I think my previous version kind of was. So I'm like, just give them someone to talk to, so it's more realistic, and it's just something that a real person may actually do and say. Um, you know, even if your characters are loners or whatever, I don't know, or such at the beginning, give them someone to talk to. That's a good way to get into someone's thoughts and dialogue. So yeah, um, and three, I guess you can have different characters be foils for each other, and use one character to kind of show the opposite of what you want, kind of contrast with the other one, and highlight the things you want to highlight in the one character, in the main character. So there you go. That's my advice for this week. I hope it helps. Hope it works for my scene. I mean, I wrote it. I'm pleased with it. I haven't. It was just a few days ago. Haven't read it to anyone else yet. So we'll see if it even works. But anyway, that's my advice for this week. Hope it helped you. Thanks for watching and listening, and keep checking back for more. Have a great weekend. Bye.